everybody. Welcome to my channel 25th and South. My name is Cece and today you're watching an apartment speed build. Now, I decided I wanted to do an apartment speed build on this little studio apartment that is in I believe it's in the Arts District. It's in the Media Studios. Let's see. There is a townie sim that already lives here and his name is escaping my brain. You know him, you love him. Salim lives here. So I actually kicked Salim out of this apartment and I am putting in a young couple. Now, what has inspired this particular apartment speed build is actually a movie that I grew up loving, and this film is called Barefoot in the Park. It is based off of a play by Neil Simon of the same name. The film version came out, I believe, in 1967, so I think my dad was 17, my mom was 10. They had no idea the other one existed, so why I'm obsessed with this film might seem a little weird, but it really was ahead of its time. It stars Robert Redford and Jane Fonda. And essentially the film is about this young couple that are very opposite of each other, but they fall in love and they try to make it work living in this tiny apartment in New York City. And Paul is very straight-laced, very uptight lawyer, and Corey is a very free-spirited, peace and love, child of the 60s girl. And I loved that. I loved how different they were and how much they seemed to love each other. And of course, their differences, opposites attract. Their differences is what brought them together, but it's also one of the plot points that could tear them apart. There's a threat of divorce at some point in the movie, and one of my favorite scenes sort of comes towards the end when they've had this huge fight. I won't tell you over what. I don't want to spoil it for you in case you find it and watch it for yourself, but they have this huge fight and Paul gets crazy drunk, super wasted, and climbs up on the roof of their apartment and then realizes that he's deathly afraid of heights. And it's just such a funny moment. And Paul has been this very well put together, very straight-laced, type A kind of guy, and then he has this moment where he's just falling to pieces, and it's so funny. But essentially with this apartment, at first I was going to try and split up the space in rooms, like bedrooms and that type of thing, but I decided to just take advantage of this sort of studio-esque sort of space and just make it a full-blown studio apartment. And the idea is they are a young couple. They've don't really have a whole lot of money. Paul is just graduated his undergrad and he's in law school, and so he doesn't really have a job other than maybe a stipend that he might receive, maybe whatever he might get from his parents, who I think are very disapproving of Corey because she's not the type of girl they think he should be with. And Corey, in the movie, I believe, if I remember correctly, she's a florist, which could totally work in The Sims, but there wasn't a whole lot of space to put a flower arranging table, which is what I would probably use. So I went ahead and put in an art easel. But of course, if you want to play with these characters or make something like this for this apartment, you can always have Corey go work at a community garden or something like that. But so they don't have a lot of money, and I wanted the apartment to look like just a hodgepodge of different things, mostly influenced by Corey, because I would think that she's probably lived on her own much longer than Paul has. I would feel like Paul sort of went from his parents' house to the dorm room to the frat house, and in somewhere met Corey, and the two eloped, got married, and so he, out of the two of them, has less stuff than she does. But I thought, so it's gonna be a very eclectic mix. I wanted to feel very boho vibes, as if Corey has just gone and just picked up just very colorful stuff from vintage stores, or hand-me-down things, or things she found off the street, or things that might have been given to her from past boyfriends, stuff like that. One cool trick that I wanted to do that you can actually do if you do live in a studio apartment was I took this bookshelf from university and I put it as a divider in between the living room space and the bed space, or the bedroom space. I'm doing quotes, finger quotes that you can't see. But I would imagine that Corey is very messy and her stuff is everywhere, all over the place. You walk into this apartment and you know that Corey lives here. And then Paul's things are, he's kind of might have gotten a little lax because he's so focused on his law degree in school that he's not even really, I won't say he's not bothered by the mess, but that's the apartment being messy does not take up most of his thought. He's probably at the library a lot, and then when he's at home, he doesn't really want to fool with it. He doesn't care. He's still a newlywed, so he's not bothered by the mess right now. But you'll see like books and folders and things sort of spread out that are obviously, case files, things that he's working on for school. I would guess that Paul is probably the cook in the apartment, so the kitchen is a little bit more put together than the rest of the house. But I wanted it to look like this space is truly rented. They can't really change the walls. The kitchen is very boring, very basic, but they have a bunch of crazy stuff. I was so excited to be able to use that bike. And here I go putting down that art easel. But this was just such a fun build to do, just trying to figure out how to make everything fit. And I did play test this. There were some things that you see me lay down in the build, such as all this pile of laundry that I ultimately did have to take out because for some reason, unlike in real life, you can't just step over the laundry in The Sims that's on the floor. So I did have to take that out. You'll also notice in the screenshots, I did screenshots instead of a video tour, that the coffee table has probably slightly different stuff. That's because during my test playing, the little incense that I put down in the coffee table caught fire, and the whole coffee table went up and everything on it went up in flames. Corey, being the street smart girl chick she is, put out the fire while Paul ran out of the apartment in his underwear. So I did have to replace it. So when I do share it on the gallery, there will be some different items. As you can see, I put some of maybe Paul's memorabilia and things on the walls, and just a lot of personal touches in this apartment. I really wanted it to feel like a young couple lived here, and it was very lived in. But that's pretty much it. This is like the fastest speed build that I've ever done. But I just kind of felt inspired and I wanted to put something out. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a happy little thumbs up by pressing that like button. Drop a comment down below. Let me know if you've seen this movie. Let me know if you want to see me do other movie or TV inspired builds. I know I've seen people do the Friends apartment, and I think I've seen someone do the How I Met Your Mother, Ted, and Marshall's apartment before, so I would be happy to try to tackle it. Obviously, this build is inspired by Barefoot in the Park. It does not look like the apartments from that movie, but it is one of my all-time favorite movies. You should go find it. Also, if you enjoy my content and you want to see more from me, please, oh please, oh please subscribe. I try to post videos every single week. I do cast videos, speed builds, let's plays, all that fun stuff. And I'd love for you to join the 25th and South family. But again, my name is Cece, and I promise never to break your game. Bye.